One of the reasons Donne's poetry wasn't published, except it was circulated in manuscript, it wasn't published till after he dies, is it was very naughty. That's not the word I'm looking for. But it went against, I mean, there was such a long tradition from Augustine on about associating sex with sin, that sexual love, wasn't really love for God. But you had to procreate because otherwise there wouldn't be any people left. But actually, the first centuries of the church, a lot of Christians thought there was no need to procreate because if you were expecting the second coming of Christ, why would you want to perpetuate the Roman society? So chastity, virginity becomes the model. But Augustine then associates sex with sin. And in fact, one of the things that I love to tell my students, although they're quite horrified, embarrassed by it, especially if they're guys in the class, that Augustine says that the first sign of sin for Adam was that he had an unwilled erection. Okay, sorry guys. That showed the loss of control of the will and reason over his body.
Solomon and Smith. I am Jack, truck and pedder. That is Milo, Garner. Neither one of us is Solomon or Smith, but we are Solomon and Smith. You're about to listen to a conversation between us and Achsah Guibbory, the daughter of the Messiah and a former president of the Milton Society of America, big Milton head, big John Donne head, professor of English literature at Bernard. Is it Bernard? What's the name?
Yeah, I believe that's
Bernard. And and great fun to have around. If you're throwing a shindig, it ain't no shindig until Guibbory arrives. Tell you that for free. We talked
what
about.
do we talk? Yeah, what do we talk to her
What are we
about?
talking about? Love. What is love? Question 1. Question 2. Whence love? Question 3. Whither love? We talk about love in John Donne and in John Milton, particularly eros, erotic love, romantic love. How's it different in grimy Puritan argument bag John Milton and fun, sexy, good times John Donne? How do they write differently about love? What does it mean to each of them? What did love mean in general back in the olden days? Which is how we refer to the 17th century on this channel. The olden days.
And it's interesting. You might be asking, hang on, fine, this whole love thing, great. But why on earth would you be comparing John Milton with John Donne? These guys got nothing to do with each other. Well, interestingly enough, Achsah Guibbory is one of very few experts in both. Her specialty is both of these contrary figures. And so no one better to throw this question of love at. We've got blind Milton lying on his bed, reading out Paradise Lost to his many daughters. And we've got John Donne, probably astride a stallion, somewhere in a very impressive sort of vista, calling out his poems.
A constantly whinnying stallion that he sort of has to hop around on.
And a tall hat, imagine what, but they were in style at the time. It's not silly.
No.
So it's a tall with a big brim.
Very
Wow.
large, like irrespective of how much you zoom out the frame, the hat is outside of it. Fairly Odd Parents, like the Texan in that.
Died too soon to die heroically as a cavalier. That would have been a good death for John Donne. He could have in fact been killed by Milton in the Civil War.
He was killed by Milton during the Civil War, and we'll never forgive him for that.
That's how it went down. God, I just...
Or another fan theory, John Donne faked his death and became John Milton. Some pedants would argue the birth dates don't match up, and John Donne would be an extraordinarily old man
and
at the time that he's dictating Paradise Lost, which he was. If you sort of play all of Achsah Guibbory's answers backwards, you do get this elucidated in great detail.
If you want. You don't have to.
Milton
Yeah. Yeah, it's in there.
Could any two men be called John at the same period? I've never heard of such things.
It's a little bit coincidental, isn't it? A little bit. Okay.
Oh, and they both do poetry. What are the odds?
Both great at it. Not that many great poets, really.
And
they both write about love, apparently. We discuss in great detail, in fact. Shared theme, shared form, shared country, shared name. When do we start asking questions here? Right now, on Solomon and Smith.
Leave a comment. Who's better, John Donne or John Milton? And you can say both, because they're the same man. Like this video, give it a little thumb up, and subscribe to the channel. We see the stats. Most of you ain't subscribed. Come on in. It's warm in here. There's plenty of room. My father's house has many mansions. My father's house has many mansions. Yes.
The Solomon and Smith promise is to provide all subscribers with a mansion.
We'd be very grateful if you could also go and support us on Patreon if you like what we're doing here and would like to facilitate the continuation of the Solomon and Smith project into the future. Without any further ado, though, here is Achsah Guibbory. What was that? A seminar of that was about every single woman in the Bible, and your name was pronounced Achsah.
But I don't pronounce it that way. Actually, it should be Achsah with a soft ch.
Yes.
And I hate Achsah when people say that. It sounds like they're fucking throwing up. Excuse me, take that word out of this.
Yeah, the daughter of Caleb, I believe.
Indeed, it is. It is. I mean, it is not a common name. That's all I can say.
Was it from the Bible? Were your parents thinking, Judges, open on a random page? Yeah.
No, it wasn't a random page. There was a whole story behind that, but I was born after my father had come over here from, at that time, Mandate, Palestine. And I think that he thought America in some ways was a promised land. And he probably thought, Caleb, daughter of Caleb, one of the only two, Joshua and Caleb are the only ones who go into Canaan. And I think that's how he got this name. I don't know. But I've only recently grown into it. It's like, I mean, when I was in grade school, I mean, I was spent a whole life having my name pronounced in horrible ways. Which, I mean, seriously, like when I was in grade school, and at that time, I think I was the only Jewish kids in class, and everybody had names like Smith and Brown, and like that, and. My teacher in third grade hated me, and she kept calling me Achsah. And they took roll every day. So every day the students would all howl with laughter.
It never got old. The joke it remained hilarious to them. Yeah.
I know. Okay, so I also have a married name of Kaufman, which I never use. And I was at a Milton conference last week, and in Toronto, and I was waiting to get my plane back, and suddenly the guy, whatever they are, who calls people out, he says, Achsah Guibbory. Oh my God. So anyhow, so the introduction is how I really say my name is Achsah Guibbory.
Achsah Guibbory.
Achsah Guibbory.
Yeah. So actually, if you never saw it and just heard it, you would be fine.
Yes, very much. Yeah.
It's like even babies can say my name. It's easy. You just don't see it. Don't look at it.
Yeah. This cursed Germanic alphabet gives people all sorts of crazy ideas. Yeah.
I know.
And Guibbory, it's the nicest place to put the emphasis.
is
Guibbory.
what.
It has a nice bounce with the
Well, it
emphasis, and
does. It
yeah,
actually
yeah.
does. And that actually, I hated that name for a long time because people would call me Gibbery, and I mean, it's like,
Yeah, Guibbory, awful. Guibbory, one of the best names in English.
oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you. Now I'm finally feeling better. Jack and Milo.
Exactly, yes.
Easy to pronounce
Uh-oh.
names. You got it first try.
Shoot, wait a minute. I've got this problem with my stupid computer. Okay, use God, I
Give
don't
it a
know this.
whack. Just
Oh shit. Sorry. I hope this is not all getting recorded. Well, it is, isn't it?
We cut everything except the
Actually,
swearing, and it's just a long
ah,
list of expletives.
oh shit. Sorry. God, it's getting worse. Now it tells me this is not actually my username, which is bullshit. Oh God, come on. It is not invalid. They have set up so much security for me that I can't even get in myself. Okay.
that's the optimal.
I know.
The gates of Eden shut on you.
Yay! Connection is complete. Okay, so I should be okay now. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I'll send it over to Milo for the poetic epigraph. Did you go for a usual suspect, or are we about to get something really
Uh,
weird?
no, we're getting Milton. Indeed, we're getting Milton.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Latin
nice.
Milton translated into English because I'm not gonna risk
You're
the
going to do
untranslated.
Latin Milton? Oh my God. My
In
Latin
English, in
sucks.
English, in English.
Yeah,
Fear
thank
not.
God.
Yeah, no,
Oh, I'm really relieved.
we all are. We all are.
Well, you
So
guys
let's
are
see.
fun, actually.
We're gonna take it's gonna be elegy number 7, but not all of it because it goes on a bit.
Don't
I'm
ask
gonna
me because I can't even remember it. It's like I don't teach it all the time, like never.
yeah, we're gonna go from the final sort of stanza. I mean, it's not stanza, but it is in my
Okay,
translation.
let's see.
Um,
Let's
so
see something. Here's
yeah.
my very, very old Milton book from when I was, and it's held
Wow.
together by um, tape, duct tape. It's from when I was a first semester sophomore.
That
It
is
has notes from my first teacher and
look
everything,
at
but
that.
it
That
has
is so many
all my
notes. That's
notes.
like goodness me. That's like the Talmud. It's
It
insane.
is. And it has notes from centuries of me. I mean, God. No, okay. Let's see. Where the hell is
I'll go with
this?
that
No,
as
wait a
well.
minute. This one doesn't even have elegy. Shoot. It didn't even put elegy 7 in here. It has elegy 4.
Well, we'll do set. We can all absorb 7 together.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Okay. And
This
this
will
is
be a new experience. Okay.
from the end. Wretch that I am, what hopes for me remain, who cannot cease to love, yet love in vain? Oh, could I once more behold the fair, speak to her, tell her of the pangs I bear. Perhaps she is not adamant, would show, perhaps some pity at my tale of woe. O inauspicious flame, 'tis mine to prove a matchless instance of disastrous love. O spare me, gentle power, if such thou be. Let not thy deeds and nature disagree. Now I revere thy fires, thy bow, thy darts. Now own thee sovereign of all human hearts. Spare me, and I will worship at no shrine with vow and sacrifice, save only thine. Remove, no, grant me still this raging woe. Sweet is the wretchedness that lovers know, but pierce hereafter, should I chance to see one destined mine, at once both her and me. Such were the trophies that in earlier days by vanity seduced I toiled to raise, studious yet indolent and urged by youth, that worst of teachers from the ways of truth, till learning taught me in his shady bower to quit love's servile yoke and spurn his power. Then on a sudden the fierce flame suppressed, a frost continual settled on my breast, whence Cupid fears his flames extinct to see, and Venus dreads a Diomede in me. Written apparently in Milton's 19th year, but an interesting insight in Milton in love, and then deciding never again.
Mm.
An interesting
Which is
introduction.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay, one reason it's bizarre is I don't even know that poem. It's not even printed in Hughes, and it's surreal. Okay, I mean, I don't know. What can I say about it? It's utterly bizarre. Milton was never in love then. I mean, obviously, this is, a kind of imitation of some poem.
Hmm.
And if
Is
he
it?
was ever in love with anybody early on, it was Charles Diodati, his male friend. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess he's just, exercising his poetic classical chops or something.
Yeah, well,
But
like the classical like pop song, like Lennon and McCartney probably weren't in love,
yeah, that's
for I want,
exactly right.
she loves you and I want to hold your hand, but it
I know.
sells, but it sells. The kids, they love it.
I know.
Interesting, the epilogue, which is meant to be the epilogue to all of the elegies, then sort of throwing it away and saying, but then I grew up and love frosted and everything was
Yes.
fine.
Yes. It is really an interesting way to end it. Really is. There's just a whole question about love and Milton, because I've been thinking about this a lot. And, I wanted to talk about both Donne and Milton. You can do whatever you want, but I mean, one of the reasons is because they are so different. They're just such totally different poets.
Hmm.
And,
And probably people as well. I mean, there's
well, yeah,
the
I can't
personalities that
imagine
come
that.
across in
Can you
yeah.
imagine them sitting and having a conversation? No. I mean, and then I think to myself, who would I want to hang out with?
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
a question. Not a question in my mind,
Yeah.
you
Done,
know?
right?
It's got to
Oh,
be done.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
like Milton's yeah. I mean,
I mean,
he's
seriously.
he's the
I
worst
mean,
kind of like I think Milton in person, the kind of worst kind of no nonsense,
oh
you
God,
know.
yes.
Yeah, no fun. I I don't know, like
No sense of humor, no sense
yeah.
of wit. Although I do remember somebody, oh God, somebody I knew years ago, I think his name was Roger Rollin, I don't know, wrote an essay, published an essay on humor in Milton, but it didn't convince me. I mean, it might be kind of humor, but he's not
Yeah.
funny, you know? I mean,
Darkness visible.
darkness visible indeed. I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's a kind of it's the kind of humor that like Beckett or Kafka, like they're kind of it's the kind of humor that maybe makes a very very strange kind of person laugh.
oh
Um, but
yes.
but even then,
Yes.
I find Kafka and Beckett funnier than Milton. I
Well,
thought
I
maybe
do too.
quite.
Beckett's hysterical,
No, no, yeah, yeah. Beckett was unfair. I was thinking, yeah, I
No,
immediately
but there
remembered,
is,
oh, yeah, all the hilarious stuff. As I was
right.
saying it, I was, yeah.
No, I mean, but that's true. Beckett and Kafka, seriously.
But I mean, like, when Kafka was writing the Metamorphosis, he was, laughing so loudly that neighbors would complain. And although someone would maybe read the Metamorphosis today and like chuckle a little bit, you wouldn't laugh so loud that a neighbor
No,
would complain. And it's a very strange kind of humor. And
I did
maybe
not know that. That's
something.
hysterical. I love it. I love it. Or
Yeah,
did you make that up?
no, no, no. You can read the correspondences between him and the neighbor as well, which are also very funny. A Czech friend of mine drew attention to them. Lots of the Czech Kafka stuff is
Wonderful.
untranslated, lots of letters or less known at least in
Oh
English.
God, I love Kafka. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Just when reading the trial, he would
Hmm.
also be cackling with laughter, and it's where's the
Oh, I
joke,
know.
Kafka? But he found the whole thing just hysterical.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
it's true. I mean, there's this totally dark humor, but it's different from Milton. Milton's humor is like, you know, angels, fallen angels, or whatever, before they've fallen throwing mountains, I mean, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the same kind of dark, it's dark humor with Kafka, twisted and good
Hmm.
Jewish humor, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, a suffering humor. And I don't know.
Yeah, and Milton, yeah, it's hard to imagine him there lying in bed dictating it and like holding back a chuckle. Uh,
Well, wait, oh God. But wait a minute. God, I'm thinking my husband he used to run on Barbara Pym, and I think there was something that Barbara Pym wrote about lying in bed with somebody reading, you know, I mean a man, reading Samson Agonistes or Paradise Lost or Paradise Regained, and I thought, how pathetic. I mean, couldn't she think of anything better to do? I mean, okay, you're gonna have to edit this,
Barbara,
obviously.
yeah. I thought maybe actually a good place to start would be on the word love. So it's a bit of a cliche, but the English
Okay.
word love, it's got this big burden of meaning placed on its shoulders. I mean, in Greek, you've got caritas and agape and philia and storge and eros all stuffed into this one English monosyllable.
Oh,
Someone
that's so
says, I
good.
love pizza, I love my neighbor, I love hot women, I love my family, I love my country, I love God. They seem to be talking about completely different things, different emotional states.
Right.
How do you think so much meaning piled up on the English word love?
Oh man, that's an impossible question. I don't know. I think, I mean, I would want, for one thing, I'm thinking like, what would I do if I looked at the Oxford English Dictionary of what happened to the meaning of the word over years? Which is something that I usually ask my students to do, when they're reading older literature and they're going to have to write something about it. So just look and see, when did these meanings change, or what meanings were at this time? And that's not going to answer your question, but
Hmm.
my guess is that the word love has over the centuries totally expanded in meaning. And now at this point, some words become almost worthless. Because, like you say, the way in which that's not, I mean, I remember a friend of mine saying to me, I am very careful with that word,
Hmm.
as if you don't say that unless you mean it in a very serious and very specific way that's actually almost exclusive. Not totally, but I mean, that's not just this general, I love everything, where once it becomes so generalized, it becomes meaningless. And I suppose, I'm guilty of that too. I'll say, God, I love my wine. Do I really love my wine? It's not human, it's not animate. I love my dog. That's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think maybe it's part of the whole degeneration of language in some ways. Maybe it's really flying off my head here, or that's probably not a real metaphor. But I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about how we use words with so little precision. And there's a difference, for example, between the way I might talk and the way in which I might write, and so we distinguish that way. But in some ways, some of these things just become meaningless. But it's also, and so now I'm thinking about the other side. It's also maybe a sense that our sense of liking something or appreciating something expands. And
Hmm.
so it's not just focused on a person or on God, but on maybe like an emotional reaction and appreciation of a lot of different things. And so for me, the word can mean different things. Like I'm sitting in this apartment. I love my apartment. It's not a human being, but I somehow sort of created it by, putting something I love. I'm going to say it again, pictures, color, paintings, a chair, something from the past. And all those things I have some kind of emotional or intellectual attachment to. And that's very different from a kind of standing away and a rejection of something.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm not, I'm not in neurology or anything, but I don't know. I'm just kind of like thinking.
Yeah, yeah, thinking loud. I mean, I'm while rereading the sort of all the love scenes in Paradise Lost, uh, and the word is used in lots of different ways even then. in the 17th
You're
century.
right.
We have the love of God, we have the love of Christ and the self-sacrifice for
Right.
humankind, but then also the erotic love in there. And
Hmm. Hmm.
it strikes me though that there are a few spaces, a few uses of it that I can't really imagine being used as much today. I mean, when I
Hmm.
hear the word love today, it seems like the erotic or romantic version of that word has sort of dominated the others, sort of
Hmm.
colonized lots of the space belonging to the others. Certainly, with the secularization of society,
Right.
the the holy love is has diminished somewhat. But even
Hmm.
taking that out of account, it just strikes me how kind of, I suppose, pre-Darwinian the erotic love is. I wonder, another interesting question: how did people think about erotic love in this context in the 17th century, in this resolutely pre-Darwinian zeitgeist? What were these feelings? How did
Well,
people think about
that's why I really wanted to talk specifically about Donne and Milton and their poetry, because that's maybe the thing that interests me the most is that relationship between erotic and spiritual love. And I think that Donne and Milton are very, very different about that. I'm not sure what you mean about how Darwinian, post-Darwinian changes that, though.
I
Okay.
would like the sex drive, the sex impulse
Oh, oh, oh,
can be reduced to
oh,
an
oh,
evolutionary drive to survive. Like there's a
right.
genetic justification for it. I'm curious, in the 17th century, you
God.
feel sexual attraction or intense sexual longing or connection with another person. I'm curious how people thought about that feeling in the 17th century.
I can't completely, I wouldn't want to generalize about that
Sure.
because in some ways, I mean, one of the reasons Donne's poetry uh, wasn't published, except it was circulated in manuscript, it wasn't published till after he dies, is it was very naughty. That's not the word I'm looking for. But it went against, I mean, there was such a long tradition from Augustine on about associating sex with sin. And, cupiditas or whatever, love of self, that sexual love, wasn't really love for God. But you had to procreate because otherwise there wouldn't be any people left. But actually, the first centuries of the church, it was really in the very beginning. I mean, not that I'm an expert on everything, but there was no need. A lot of Christians thought, this is, I think, Peter Brown's book a long time ago. There was no need to procreate because if you were expecting the second coming of Christ, why would you
Yes.
want to perpetuate the Roman society?
Hmm.
So chastity, virginity becomes the model. But Augustine then associates sex with sin. And in fact, one of the things that I love to tell my students, although they're quite horrified, embarrassed by it, especially if they're guys in the class, that Augustine says that the first sign of sin for Adam was that he had an unwilled erection. Okay, sorry, guys.
Hmm.
That showed the loss of control of the will and reason over his body.
Hmm.
So, right from the beginning, he's identifying sex, sexual desire, or, and yes, sex, with sin. And Elaine Pagels has a wonderful book published a long time ago about the whole influence of Augustine on the ideas about sex. And so when Donne is sort of, and I think sometimes, and I've written, a fair amount about this, I mean, Donne's poetry is very, it's not all the same. It's very, very, very varied,
Hmm.
very varied, very varied. I can't even say that. Because he has these libertine poems, which are all about just sex, as many as you can have, no faithfulness. But then on the other hand, he has these poems like The Good Morrow, The Sun Rising, Valediction Forbidding Morning, The Ecstasy especially, that all are about the connection of body and soul and sexuality and spirituality. So we've got, really different views of this at the time. And then also there were people who thought, well, you have to have sex for marriage to reproduce. But sex outside of marriage was different. I mean, there's so much involved, Catholicism, Protestantism or whatever. In other words, sex and love was thought of differently and in multiple ways. And there could be spiritual love, but that's all directed to God. But then what about if you have desire for your partner? Now, marriage at this time, though, was not based on I'm in love with somebody. It was a social, economic, political arrangement. So a lot of erotic love happened outside of marriage. But Donne's poems did something different. And there's a reason why I think his poetry has been more influential up until now. Milton, we still have this problem of what is the relationship between desire and love. And I do want to talk later about, I've got a couple of passages I want to look at, what is sex like before the fall? Yeah. What is sex like after the fall?
Exactly, yeah.
What are Adam and Eve like before the fall? What is after? He tries to find a way, but it is so different from Donne. Both of them at some point have this idea that making love can be holy, but they're totally different.
Yeah. Well, an interesting survival, just while we're on this point, and you see it in Love's Alchemy, but in a very sort of cynical, rejective
absolutely.
sense, is the Socratic or Platonic version, the symposium version of love, where beauty and erotic love are the window to this kind of higher transcendent vision of reality. And this is sort of a pre-Christian way of thinking about love. And you sort of almost redirect yourself. You use beauty and then bounce off the beauty, because the Socratic ideal, the Platonic ideal, was to not actually consummate it, but to use that energy and to find, the cloud spun rim.
Exactly, but not consummated. And that's the big difference with Donne.
Yeah,
it has to be consummated, and that's because Paul also is he's got a lot of that Greek, Platonism in him too, spirit, flesh, and all this stuff. But you're absolutely right with the Platonic, and then in the Renaissance is what Castiglione, who haven't read the Cordier, who haven't read for a long, long time. But again, it's like you start with loving the person, the woman, and then you go up higher, and then you can go to the highest. But for Donne, in some of those poems, you get to the highest through sex with the person that you are committed to. You know what I mean? So it's just different. You can see why you would want to kind of hide that a little bit, and it becomes almost an alternative religion for some, not for anybody.
I'm curious in the way that, like, in the Genesis narrative that Milton's basing on, it's not necessarily spelled out that Adam and Eve noticing their nakedness is them noticing sexual desire for the first time.
Right.
The Genesis is very, very flat. You don't learn that much about their prelapsarian state whatsoever. It's just that it's very, very concise. But there is this whole Christian tradition that them noticing their nakedness is the first time that sexual desire is introduced into the equation. And they can only conceive Cain and Abel after they know that they are naked.
Yes.
This is like the interpretation that Philip Pullman is bouncing off in his Dark Materials books, where sexual desire is kind of the only sin. And is also dark matter.
And I think that's so wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
But I don't mean in the sense that, because like you say, Genesis doesn't actually say that.
No, absolutely.
It says nothing.
And I think Augustine and his own, Augustine's own, like, sexual issues have been mapped onto the entire Christian tradition. I think, like, this is one of those cases, and lots of people like blaming everything on Augustine, but I think this is one case where you really can blame the church's subsequent sexual ethics on Augustine, partly because of just how interesting his writing is, I think.
It's extremely, I love it. I love it.
Exactly. And he can really portray this world where life is this sort of sexually transmitted disease. He can.
That's how original sin is transmitted.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
Exactly, and and greed and murder and all of that's just a side thing. The sort of the core trial for the human race, and the thing that mires them in sin for Augustine seems be sex foremost. But in Paradise Lost, telling the same story, as you say, Milton doesn't see sex as something, and sexual desire introduced after the fall. It's very much there beforehand. I thought we might look at book 4.
That's what I wanted to look at.
The bower scene, and
right.
could you just have a little read through some of this bower scene, and maybe we could talk a bit about how does prelapsarian sexual love look in Milton?
Yes, although not everybody agrees with my reading of things. Okay, and I'll show you why.
Yeah.
Okay, but and I want to contrast book 4 then with what happens after the fall, which I figured that you want to do also, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I was thinking of. And I think I'm not going to read through all this, but I think as a preface to that, we have to see how Milton introduces Adam and Eve, the description of them. And people argue about the description of this. Is this Milton describing them? Is it the narrator? Or is this what Satan sees?
Okay.
The description of the difference between them, when it says... Because Satan saw undelighted, the fiend saw undelighted all delight, all kind of living creatures new and sight and strange, two of far noblest shapes, erect and tall, godlike erect, and so forth, in naked majesty, nakedness is fine, the image of their glorious maker shone, both of them, not equal as their sex not equal seemed. So they're not the same, they're not equal. And then his looks show absolute rule over what? Again, there's a difference over Eve. Eve, she has her wanton ringlets waved, and her golden tresses are disheveled as the vine curls her tendrils. Vine needs something to support it, the tree. So already we have that idea that, Eve is dependent and is created dependent on Adam, who she's not equal to. And it says, then was not guilt is shame. But what happens right after that is, well, it's not exactly right after that. Eve tells her story, and she looks in the lake, and she sees her reflection. I don't think it's narcissistic. She doesn't know it's her, but she's attracted to it. She is not attracted to Adam. She has to be led to Adam and told your desire is going to be for him. And that is a punishment. That will be a punishment after the fall. Your desire will only be for your husband. In other words, you won't want anybody else or anything else. But in other words, so heterosexuality is just not instinctive right there for her.
Or even sexuality outside of the self. That monosexuality or whatever it's called.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's not even tied to a self. It's really weird. And that's why then I wanted to... Okay, so the scene you wanted to look at is when they make love, right?
In the bower, yeah.
In the bower. Okay, but again, there are these things that precede it. When they make love, they first pray. Mm-hmm. And so that suggests that making love is going to be something which is like a holy ritual. It's something holy. It's sacred. The bower is also described as a place that is cut off from everything else. No insects, no animals, nothing will intrude in it. It's like the Holy of Holies in the temple. It's something nothing can enter into. And so, okay. So Eve has been told now that it's Adam that she has to love. So, wait a minute. I've got all my notes here. I can't read look at this book. Look at this. How can I read anything in it? How can I find anything in it? Okay. Thus talking hand in hand alone, they passed on to their blissful bower. It was a place chosen by the sovereign planter. It's chosen by God, but it becomes decorated by Eve. When he framed all things to man's delightful use. The roof of thickest cover was inwoven shade, laurel and myrtle, and what higher grew a firm and fragrant leaf. Notice all the senses, its visual, smell, on either side a canthus, and each odorous bushy shrub fenced up the verdant wall. It's protected, it's fenced, kind of like Eden is. It's like the center of Eden, but it's also
It's an Eden within
protected.
Eden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then all the colors, iris, all hues, roses, jasmine, then all these more colored with the stone of costliest emblem. Other creature here, beast, bird, insect, or worm, durst enter none. Such was their awe of man. So this is the most sacred place, enclosed recess, with flowers, gardens, and sweet-smelling herbs. Espoused Eve decked her first nuptial bed. So it's created both by God and by Eve. And the heavenly choirs sing and everything. Okay. Then thus at their shady lodge arrived, both stood, both turned, and under open sky adored. Together, both. Their words are presumably the same. They are totally in harmony. Just these little details. The God that made both sky, air, earth, and heaven, which they beheld, the moon's resplendent globe and starry pole. Thou also madest the night, a maker omnipotent, and now the day. And notice how Milton, the narrator's voice, has just now blended with Adam and Eve's.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're all talking at the same time, which we in our appointed work employed have finished happy in our mutual help. It's clearly Adam and Eve, ordained, wait a minute, and mutual love, the crown of all our bliss, ordained by thee. God ordains mutual love. Okay, but thou hast promised from us to a race to fill the earth, who shall with us extol thy goodness infinite. Then this said unanimous. Notice all the emphasis on same, unanimous, mutual, and other rites observing none, but adoration pure which God likes best. Into their inmost bower handed they went. And handed was a term like for being married. So this is the consummation of the marriage. And ease the putting off these troublesome disguises which we wear. Okay, straight side by side were laid, nor turned I ween. Adam doesn't know for sure. Milton doesn't know for sure. Adam from his fair spouse, nor Eve the rites mysterious of connubial love refused. Whatever hypocrites go. So this is then Milton goes on to say, hail weighted love. But look at this description. What do you make of this? Straight side by side were laid, nor turned they from their spouse.
It's very, very different to what Satan sees, isn't it? Like, it's almost as if Satan is projecting a relationship of pure domination.
This is not domination. It is not missionary style, to be explicit. But seriously, the side by side suggests such equality.
I'm reminded of the part from the Good Morrow where Donne says, "Whatever dies was not mixed equally.
Equally, right.
If any love is not equal, it will perish. It belongs to death." Right. And also, in another part of the Good Morrow where he says that she is all states and I am all princes.
Right. And also when you're looking at each other and they are one world because each in the eye can see the face of the other.
They can see the reflection of themselves looking in the eye close up. Yeah.
That's what I see here.
Yeah.
It's that complete equality. But, okay.
Go on. Yeah.
But, what happens in book 8, but we won't go there yet.
Hmm.
When Adam is telling Raphael about his desire for Eve,
Yeah,
it's very different.
he's warned against it,
And
and it's
and Raphael
interesting.
warns him.
Yeah, it's interesting in this scene, we don't really get much of desire. The act happens almost by God's will,
Thank you.
but we don't get, oh, I want you, I need you, this sort of this force
I
which then
agree.
consummates. Yeah, it just seems to be natural
I have
process.
disagreed with people so often about that. I know. I said, that's what I think. I said, I don't see any desire here.
Hmm.
You're right, Milo. I mean, that's the thing we don't see, except maybe we're fallen. We only think of desire in one way. But all this equality, I mean, I think that's my reaction to this too. I say, where's the desire?
Hmm. I suppose desiring something is you're always projecting inequality onto the world, aren't you? I mean, it wouldn't be
Exactly.
worth desiring
That's
if it wasn't
true.
better than something else. Yeah.
And it's a lack. And so
Hmm.
maybe that means they're not feeling any lack here.
Yeah, no, precisely. Yeah, the desire can only come from, yeah, from want of something, from some internal
Wanting
poverty.
something, wanting something you don't have.
Mm.
So I just find this so rich, so many different ways to interpret. People read it so differently.
Mm.
And is desire dangerous?
Yeah,
Because,
I mean, you could just frame Satan's, pride as pure desire.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, and Satan's like, he's inequality is really essential to Satan. There's a
Yes,
he's frustrated that his perceived equality with God is not recognized. During his speech in Act 1, we get, whom reason hath equaled, force hath made supreme above his equals.
right.
So, a huge part of Satan's fall, his reason for starting the war in heaven is this is resentment at inequality. But we see Adam and Eve in this bower scene. There's no resentment towards each other, but also no resentment towards this world.
Anything else?
Yeah,
Right.
certainly not to God. Yeah.
They're just content. I mean, with Satan also, it's like when the sun is suddenly elevated, it almost comes off as if they were all the sons of God. But we find out there is actually a hierarchy among the angels. But it sounds like God suddenly promotes somebody who had been equal before. And to me, I mean, that's a very understandable resentment. You know,
This is
I
always
mean,
the thing
you
with
thought you
Milton.
were both equal, and suddenly,
It's the
yeah,
sense that he's
yeah,
giving Satan some of his notion, because of course he didn't like kings. He didn't like that kind of monarchical hierarchy, and yet has to sort of weave his way around
yes,
God being supreme and yet hierarchy under God being problematic. And that's why it seems that he's of the devil's party, because he's giving the devil a lot of his real political opinions,
I
only in a
think that's true.
yeah, and this is why you get almost a sort of dissonance in the poem. Whose side are you on? At first, it seems like a lot of sympathy for Satan. Towards the end, it,
Right,
it dries up because the
right.
political point and the religious point seem incompatible. And yet, we're compelled by both of them. It's not as though it
I
breaks the
agree.
poem, but we can't really settle. We can't say, well, obviously, this Satan guy, evil from the beginning, nothing he said was worthwhile. Whereas God, especially early on, the Father, seems a little bit
Right.
authoritarian, seems like
Oh, yeah.
looking down, and almost tricks Adam at first when he doesn't give Adam Eve, saying like, Adam feels lonesome. Says, and God's like, well, why don't you hang out with the beasts? They're you
Yeah,
know how to
right.
talk with the beasts. Come on, you're all right. Hang out with the beasts. And Adam's like, I don't know about that. And he's like, I got you. You got you. You'll have someone. Don't worry. Just checking.
I love that part. I know. It's so good because he knows he's different from them, but he doesn't have an equal. He doesn't have a partner. He doesn't have somebody that sleeps close enough to him. This whole thing between equality and not, and hierarchy throughout the poem. And I think, like you both said, you can't really say it's one or the other because those things are both so much in tension in this poem.
It's one of the things I love about Paradise Lost, actually. Like, it's a guy who just didn't sort out his internal conflicts.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I love that. I love books by people who don't really know what they believe.
Or who are always, let's put it this way, they're always trying to figure it out.
Yeah, precisely.
So it's an endless process.
Yeah, and often when people figure out what they believe, they become kind of lousy writers. I mean, William Wordsworth, the obvious example. First 10 years, amazing. And then just he figures out that he's William Wordsworth and 45 years of slop.
Whereas Blake is never like that, right?
No, of course, Blake never has any idea who William Blake is, and that's kind of in Milton as well. There's just this drive. There's like on a case by case basis, he has certain feelings. But it's hard to pin him on any specific thing. And in John Donne, it's like he rushes towards paradoxes in himself with glee and finds all of his poetic voice in the things that are most contradictory.
Yes. But that's why, I mean, as different as these two poets are, there is this part that never quite settles, that is always somehow seeking, though Milton seems to be a lot more confident of himself, particularly in his prose. Not in Paradise Lost. He may seem it, but but there's something much more authoritarian about Milton to me than there is about Donne. But you might disagree about that.
Some similarity I find in Paradise Lost in particular is this use of Satan as the adversary to say certain things. This seems to be John Donne's entire modus operandi. Every poem
wonderful.
Seems to be written by a different guy. They're all Satans. We get the Satan who wrote Love's Alchemy, the Satan who wrote The Indifferent, and it's all these. You don't know who John Donne is, but you have all of these like little sprites and imps that he conjures up to say things. And imagine John Donne's Paradise Lost. He wouldn't just notice the contradictions, but make the whole point. Hang on,
that would be the whole thing.
Yeah, and then he wouldn't necessarily resolve it. He'd give it to us. Whereas in Milton, we get the supreme resolution, and that's the whole point. Ignore the fact that maybe it didn't quite tie together because New Jerusalem is on the way. Don't worry, guys. God the Father is here. But John Donne is always in the sort of case of a Satan saying one thing or another, and we can never pin him down.
Right. And, and to go along with that, I think that's such an interesting way of thinking. It's also the difference between somebody who always wanted to write an epic and somebody who abjures epics. Only lyrics. And he's also anti-Spenser. Spenser, the epic. But what an interesting way, Milo, about thinking about the difference in those poems, because Donne always has an antagonist when it's got, even in the Holy Sonnets. I mean, it's not always an antagonist exactly in some of the love poems, but in his Holy Sonnets, I mean, like he's always arguing with God, commanding him.
Yeah, often they start with imperatives. So
many imperatives, commands. Batter my heart, three-person God, and then rape me at the end. It's like so different from Milton, but it's like, and yet there's this weird connection between them, including, I think, the whole sense that they both have that erotic love can be spiritual. Well, Milton might not go so far as saying erotic. I mean, that's a
loaded word now, but yeah, like the eros using the Greek,
yes, right.
That ballpark, exactly.
I know.
I was just remembering when Milo was saying like John Donne would make the contradiction the whole point. I was it seems to be something kind of frequent in lots of English Protestants during the 17th century of finding contradictions, the mysterious and profound, and actually faith-giving rather than faith-robbing. I mean, there's a good example of Thomas Browne, the great prose
Yes. Oh
artist.
God, I love Brown so
Yeah,
much.
and he's writing about the transubstantiation and really can't reconcile himself to it simultaneously being the bread and the body of Christ, but settles on believing it. At the end, there's this wonderful sentence: "I believe it because it is absurd."
Exactly.
It is not that its absurdity gets in the way. Its maximum absurdity actually lends credence to it. If it were less absurd, it wouldn't be a divine truth. Divine truths have a certain absurdity to them, and that seems like a something that Donne, though not in the same words, is attracted to. Like,
I think Donne is.
Yeah,
because for him, part of that mystery is in sex.
Yes,
But
yes.
okay, the other thing with Brown, though, remember he says that I love to pursue blah, blah, whatever it is, to an o altitudo. In other words, he likes to exercise his reason to the point where it can't get there, and then it requires this leap of faith, this love of mystery.
Yeah.
And, you're saying that about Brown makes me think that's what I think is there with Donne when he is celebrating, like in the ecstasy or, a few, not all the poems, the sense that there is something mysterious about it that takes you beyond to something else. And that's the spiritual leap. But I don't know that Milton has spiritual leaps.
No, it's much
I don't
more.
know that he has that sense of mystery.
No,
I don't know, Milo. What do you think? I mean, I'm just thinking about all of these writers, putting them in conversation. How much does Milton have paradox? He's always reasoning everything out.
Yeah, and if you look at Paradise
Yeah.
Regained, that's sort of supremely
Ooh.
reasoned. That's
I
just
know.
this is, and it's not fun because of it, because Satan will always try and tempt the Jesus character, but being very theologically canonical, the Jesus character will never even waver. He'll immediately
You are
say, well,
right.
that makes no sense for this reason, this reason, this reason. Satan moves on to
Yes,
temptation number two. And then by the
it's
last one, he
true.
just seems desperate. It's like he's on the pinnacle. It's like, come on, you've lost.
Yeah.
Give up. There's no
Yeah.
drama in it. But there is the fascinating, and I don't even know if it's grammatically intentional, but towards the end of Paradise Regained, when Satan falls, and then it
Yeah.
sort of the pronoun says he was caught by angels, and then says fed with all of this sort of godly
Yeah. Yeah.
manna. But then the he
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
actually referring to Jesus, but it doesn't there's
Right.
no switch in the noun. So I don't know if this
No.
is secretly radical theology or just something almost. I read one take that said it's as though Satan has been robbed even of the permission to be referred to by a pronoun. It cannot be Satan because he's completely
Oh. Oh.
vanquished. But I also like the idea of this kind of implicit universal forgiveness. Even Satan in falling somehow is covered by this New Jerusalem, this paradise regained. That might be incorrect, but it's attractive. But that's the closest I can get to this
You like it.
paradox, this gap, this spiritual leap. What if Satan and Jesus are combined in the same
Right.
pronoun, fall together, saved together? I don't think it's
Oh.
there necessarily, but yeah, I noticed it because I thought, hang on, that doesn't make sense. Looked it up, lots of commentary. Fine, it does make sense, but
Wow.
grammatically, it sort of throws you out a little bit.
Yes, it does. It's a weird ending. And then when also tempt not the Lord thy God,
Hmm.
is that a declaration? I mean, the son is quoting the Bible, but is that a declaration of his own identity or not? I think people disagree about that. I mean, I find it a very puzzling poem at the end. And so you're seeing this as more of this kind of universal possibility of grace, but I don't think Satan has any possibility of being saved. But yet, to end it like that might give the possibility of that an offering.
Yeah, I'll
I
just
mean,
read
to
the
the reader
section.
reading it, you know?
Yeah, I'll
I
read the
mean,
section just so we know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
yeah,
So it
please do.
says,
Right.
so Satan fell, and straight a fiery globe of angels on full sail of wing flew nigh, who on their plumy vans received him soft from his uneasy station, and upbore as on a floating couch through the blithe air, then in a flowery valley set him down on a green bank, and set before him spread a table of celestial food, divine, ambrosial, fruits fetched from the tree of life, and from the fount of life ambrosial drink that soon refreshed him, wearied and repaired, what hunger, if aught hunger had impaired, or thirst, and as he fed, angelic choirs sung heavenly anthems of his victory over temptation and the tempter proud. So by the end, that must be Jesus
Yeah,
over
that
the
is
tempter.
weird. Yeah.
But so Satan fell,
It is. It is.
received him. An amazing sort of twist of the brain.
Received him. That's
Yeah.
weird.
Hmm.
I don't know how to read that. You're right.
Yeah.
That is a very, very strange ending.
But reminds me of
Hmm.
what you were
I
mentioning
have to
about
write an
how
essay on this.
the description in the Bower is initially from the kind of narrator point of view and then twists without us noticing to being Adam
Oh,
and Eve. This just kind of clicks in
yes.
my head, and how Milton is capable, maybe
Yeah,
without even
yeah, yeah.
noticing, of slipping from the one into the other continuously.
Very, very interesting. Because he does slip from one to the other at the end in this way that is hard to define.
Hmm.
That is really, I got to go back and read it again.
Hmm.
It's like,
Can
I mean,
we
I have to because I have to write about this.
let's go back to desire. We've talked about the Bower scene being a kind of desireless space. I'm curious where desire comes from. How does it
Okay,
enter the picture?
okay.
In
I
classical
have my
myths,
notes on that.
an arrow hits you. We've been
Can I get
reading.
my tea?
Please
And
do.
then
Please go. Yeah, yeah.
okay, and I will be right back.
Joshua Reynolds, eh?
Great man.
I wrote these down so I could find the places. Okay. It happens when they have sex after the fall, but it's before that the desire, I think, first appears. Let's see. Okay, book 8. This is when he's talking with Raphael, and he's telling his story of his creation. And then after he tells the story of his creation, he tells the story of the birth of Eve. This is, oh my God, this is so good. I think that's one of my favorite places. This is where he knows that he is alone, and God teases him, and he says that he says, I see all the other animals, they all in pairs, they all have a mate. And God is teasing him. And up to the Almighty answered, not displeased. A nice and subtle happiness I see, thou to thyself proposest in the choice of thy associate. And then he says, but I'm all alone, and then Adam goes back at him and everything. And Adam says, I by conversing cannot these erect from prone. In other words, he can't somehow get these animals who are on all four by talking, erect them to be prone. But also, it's like, I can't have somebody who's like an equal. And then God says, I find thee knowing not of beasts alone, but of thyself, expressing well the spirit within thee free, my image not imparted to the brute. So then he's going to make thy likeness, thy fit health, thy other self, thy wish exactly to my heart's desire. And so then he does the cesarean section or whatever it is on Adam and takes Eve out. Wide was the wound, but suddenly with flesh filled up and healed. The rib he formed and fashioned with his hands. Under his forming hands a creature grew, manlike but different sex, so lovely fair, that what seemed fair in all the world seemed now mean, or in her summed up, in her contained, and in her looks, which from that time infused sweetness into my heart, unfelt before, into all things from her air inspired, the spirit of love and amorous delight. She disappeared and left me dark.
Mm,
I wake to find her, or forever to deplore her loss, all other pleasures, all abjure.
mm.
She disappeared and left me dark. That to me is the first sign of a desire.
It reminds me again of a passage from Donne, from I think
Yes,
again from the Good Morrow. The
yes.
if ever any beauty I did see, which I desired and got, 'twas but a
Was
dream
but a
of
dream
thee.
of thee. And the nocturnal upon St. Lucy's Day.
Mm, yeah.
Talk about darkness. She disappeared and left me dark.
Mm. It's interesting that I think in the invocation to the Muse at the beginning of Paradise Lost, one of the things Milton asks to be rid of is this darkness. What is dark in me, illumine. What is low, raise
Right,
and support. Yeah.
right.
Mm.
And then the inner light, that there's the inner light that he gets from God, hail, holy light, beginning of what is it, three
Hmm.
or something.
Yeah, three. Yeah.
And that whole thing of, so to me, I'm looking at that, I think I see a little bit of the desire. But at the end of eight there, he's confessing to Raphael about his feelings about Eve. And he says, and this would be 8, line 530 or so. But here far otherwise transported, I behold transported touch. Transported, something happens to him. Here passion first I felt, commotion strange, in all enjoyments else superior and unmoved. Here only weak against the charm of beauty's powerful glance. I think that totally devalues Eve because it's not a glance, it's something more than that.
Mm.
Of nature, and he wonders, maybe nature failed in me or left some part not proof enough. This is desire.
Mm.
But this is the very desire that Adam is going to be told by Raphael is bad. It has to be controlled by reason. Now we've got this opposition between the longing for somebody, which we didn't see in the beginning, and the sense that that's dangerous. It can take you away from God. So I don't think Milton just elevates love and sex in any way. I think there's this tension in it, that I don't know. I do know what I make of it for myself, and then, you know, he says, yet when I approach her loveliness, so absolute she seems. One of the weird things about Adam is that Adam feels inferior when he's next to Eve. Eve never feels inferior. She has to be taught inferiority.
Mm.
I mean, so this whole thing is so complicated. And every time I teach it, everybody who reads it reacts differently. But so there's this contradiction of the poem. Is erotic love good or dangerous or both bad? It always has to be kept under control.
All of this is prelapsarian, or all of these feelings that Adam's
This
having.
is pre-lapsarian. They haven't fallen.
Yeah, they've not fallen. So all of this, everything that Adam's feeling now, all of these like cravings and feelings of lack, they must be paradisical, like because they've not had the fruit yet. Yeah.
Maybe paradise wasn't perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, you
that
know,
seems to.
Yeah, almost
it's just,
necessarily, if the New Jerusalem is to be better, which it is, that's the whole premise. There has to be some
yes,
some flaw or imperfection in the old paradise. Maybe this is some expression of that, because otherwise there's always the strange paradox of, well, you've got paradise, but what about an even better paradise? Hang on, then the first one wasn't paradise
you're
because
right.
it's can't be bettered. But there's this whole
Right.
thing in Milton that the following is superior to the original. So heaven's great, but earth in a way is better, even though it's not heaven, because he
I
made it second
know.
and it's improved. So New Jerusalem better than Old Jerusalem, which puts you in an interesting situation with Adam and Eve. Even if Eve is sort of sub-created from Adam, she is second and more beautiful in the way perhaps earth is more beautiful than heaven, New
Ooh.
Jerusalem more beautiful than
Yeah.
old paradise. But it's not stated, but it's following
But
Milton's
there is a
logic.
question about that's a very interesting thought. But also, like, do you want to be in the New Jerusalem, in a new paradise, when there is no sexual desire and no marriage? I mean, Donne has a wonderful sermon about there's no marriages in heaven.
Jesus brings up the big problem. You know, the seven brothers or something, they were all married to the same wife.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
who will you be married
Which
to in
one?
heaven? Yeah, and instead of an ingenious kind of a Jesuit response, Jesus just says, "Well, there'll be none of that upstairs. Don't worry
You
about it.
see?
Yeah,
We'll all be
Yeah.
orbs floating around in orb
yeah,
universe."
yeah,
I don't
You
know
know,
how
when
nice it sounds.
yeah.
but when
All
we
there's
read
the
this as human beings, do we really want no desire?
mm,
You
no,
know,
I mean,
and
yeah.
yet, and yet, and yet, desire is painful. I mean,
I mean, like you get to the New Jerusalem, you feel desire again. The New Jerusalem falls, and it's a loop, cyclic. You know, we just like the New Jerusalem. Just immediately, someone just eats the tree, and it goes on a loop again. Another sacrifice. The
New,
whole
New Jerusalem.
the New Jerusalem. Maybe the Garden of Eden was like the 19th Jerusalem. This has been looping for for eternity, kind of.
it's just so, that's why I mean, I love this poem so much because, there's so many contradictions in it, or, so many things that are both perfect and imperfect at the same time. And I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I just love the music of it. I mean, with Paradise
Yeah,
Lost, I'm like, that's the main draw for me.
so
Overall,
beautiful.
it's very interesting ideas, all these things we can talk about. It's just how wonderful it sounds on the tongue. I just
It
love
does.
just saying it out loud to myself. It's gorgeous, gorgeous
It is
English.
so beautiful. So beautiful. Even the ugly parts,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And I love all its descriptions of undescribable things. Maybe as a blind man, he had a certain sort of knack for the for describing kind of
How do you describe what you
abysses,
can't see?
impossible wastes, and yeah, and also I
Yes.
mean I think Samuel Johnson said it's beautifully written for his weaknesses. So his weaknesses are kind of like writing a convincing human being, a human psychology, but it wouldn't be right if Adam and Eve were human beings the way we encounter them in the world. It makes sense that they're
Yes.
strange kinds of human beings.
I
And
think so.
yeah, just picking this wonderful subject that like seems to play to all his strengths and sort of submerge all his weaknesses. Yeah, I wonder if we could talk about the post-lapsarian sex on I think is it book
Yes.
9? Yeah,
Yeah, book
Yes.
nine.
yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay. Can we say one thing before that?
Please.
Okay, and it's the transition. The fact that Eve needs a lot of persuading by Satan. She argues with him a lot. Adam needs none by Eve. I think that fits with what we were just talking about, how he can't live without her. She disappeared and left me dark. Takes him one line. As soon as he sees her, he knows he's going to eat.
Hmm.
There's no rationalization, nothing. It just happens instantly after pages and pages of Eve going on.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's part of the thing because he has already decided he will fall with Eve. So now on to the sex. Okay. Um, yep, and he says, "How can I live without thee?" Echoing the she disappeared and left me dark. And that is book nine, 895 to 916. It's 908. How can I live without thee? It's just, to me, that is one of the most heartbreaking of all lines in the poem.
Hmm.
It's just so simple and so direct and no excuses. It's just a decision.
Exclamation mark, not a question mark.
No,
Yeah.
it's exactly right. And no wonder my students always find Adam and Eve so much more human after the fall. They can not identify with Adam and Eve before the fall at all, including the hot sex. Okay. God. All right. So that is page 14. Book 9, 1027 to 45. Okay. They're described as with new wine intoxicated. Both they swim in mirth, and they feel divinity within them. Um, Breeding wings wherewith to scorn the earth. But that false fruit for far other operation first displayed, carnal desire inflaming. He on Eve began to cast lascivious eyes. She him as wantonly repaid. Now, this is kind of equal, right? You know, there
Yes.
is a different equality here than the equality when they're just like lying side by side, but there still is a reciprocal thing. Okay. In lust they burn, till Adam thus gan Eve to dalliance move. Oh, thus gan to I can't read. To dalliance move. Eve, now I see thou art exact of taste and elegant, of sapience no small part, since to each meaning savor we apply, and palate called judicious. Notice how his language has changed too. This is very clever
Yeah, fancy
language.
Adam.
This is, I the praise yield thee. So well this day thou hast purveyed much pleasure we have lost while we abstained. You see, while we abstained, we lost this pleasure. At first, you want to read it, much pleasure we have lost. Yes, they have. But no, they haven't. While we
Yeah.
abstained from this delightful fruit, nor known till now true relish tasting. If such pleasure be in things to us forbidden, it might be wished for this one tree had been forbidden 10. But come, so well refreshed, now let us play. Play as meat is after such delicious fare. For never did thy beauty since the day I saw thee first and wedded thee, adorned with all perfections, so inflame my sense. And look at those words, inflaming, burning,
Yeah.
echoing hell.
Infernal. Yeah.
Absolutely. Inflame my sense with ardor to enjoy thee, fairer now than ever, bounty of this virtuous tree. So said he, and forbore not glance or toy of amorous intent. Well understood of Eve, she has new knowledge too. She understands all the tricks of sex now. Okay, Eve, whose eye darted contagious fire, her hand, sorry, her hand he
Freudian
seized.
slip of
Yeah, I
yours.
know it was
Oh,
indeed.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Her hand, God, her hand he seized into his shady bank, thick overhead with verdant roof embowered. He led her nothing loath. They're no longer in the bower. They're
Yeah.
out in nature where all the other animals are. Flowers were the couch, pansies and violets and asphodel and hyacinth, earth's freshest, softest laugh. There they took their fill of love and love's disport, took largely of their mutual guilt the seal. And I want you to think about, why is sex here the seal of guilt, the
Mm.
solace of their sin, till dewy sleep oppressed them, wearied with their amorous play? Soon as the force of that fallacious fruit, that with the exhilarating vapor bland about their spirits had played in innermost bowers made air, was now exhaled, the grosser sleep, bred of unkindly fumes, with conscious dreams uncumbered, now had left them. Up they rose as from unrest.
Mm.
And then they fight. Why is this the seal of
Mm.
guilt? The same thing happens in Dr. Faustus in Marlowe's play, where sex with Helen confirms the seal of his damnation. You know,
Mm.
if marriage is the kind of image, particularly, for the relationship between God and humans, then an aberrant kind of sex would then be the seal of guilt, I think. It's
Mm.
like, which is why Donne keeps insisting good sex is good. That's holy. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Mm.
not for Milton. It's like,
Mm.
I don't know.
No, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting that it isn't like disappointing while it's
Yeah,
happening, you know? It's
it's
like
not.
it's much better
It's
than
fun.
before. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
playful.
Yeah, yeah. And it's only yeah, only afterwards does it engender a fight, but the act itself is kind of like I don't know, it seems kind of straight down the line, like I don't know,
Great.
classical. Yeah, exactly.
Great
Yeah.
sex, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
But what happens afterwards? Post-coitus.
Yeah,
Exhaustion.
exactly. Like the
This
rest
is
of
the little
reality is
death
a bit
of
worse than
Donne.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, we have the whole thing here,
Yeah.
as opposed to Donne in the canonization, we die and rise the same. They are
Hmm.
not diminished by the act of love.
No,
And
no.
that's where I love to put them together, in the canonization. It's like, no, we don't die.
And what's
We're resurrected.
in Love's Alchemy, the cynical version, something like a winter
It
seeming
is.
summer night or something
It's
like that.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like sex is such a disappointment. Love is a disappointment. It's not just sex. He's saying, like, there is no such thing as real love, true love. We
Yeah.
expect something wonderful. We're all taught to expect, the great love of our life, and it's all going to be wonderful, but it's not.
Hmm.
And I wonder if this is
And
just an attempt to almost an etiology for that fact, even just for the kind of post-coital trying to say, okay, if
yes,
this was a very good thing followed by something that at least physiologically was less good, let's
yes,
explain that. Why would God build that into man? Well, clearly he wouldn't do that.
exactly,
So we must build it into us. How did that happen?
exactly
History
right.
sort of expands backwards, and then we get into that kind of
Yes,
pre-Darwinian thing Jack's talking about. We don't have another
that is great.
mechanism to even explain it, but we need
No,
one.
that's great connection. It really is. I think that's absolutely right. And I think it's Augustine trying to explain it too, except he just has so much guilt. Okay, that's a whole different thing. But yes, but so I think you're right. I mean, it does go back. It's like then Milton having it here. And yes, I think, yeah, it's not concerned with a later kind of scientific explanation about what happens.
Hmm.
It's like a theological.
Yeah, and we're still separate from the other animals. The thing about the post-Darwinian zeitgeist is like the thing that explains the way the other animals behave is also the thing that explains the way we behave.
That's
Whereas,
true.
yeah, whereas
That's
in
right.
Adam is separate from the other animals. You know, they walk on four legs.
Right. Right.
Completely different thing. Complete no
Yes,
relation
it
to me.
is. Totally
Yeah,
different thing.
what they're doing in the
This is
field over there, nothing to do with what I'm doing in the bower. I've got two legs. Yeah, yeah.
I love this conversation. You guys are wonderful.
No,
This is
thanks.
really
Yeah, send
a
all
lot of
your
fun.
friends. I
What?
send all your
Okay.
friends. I'm
Oh,
curious when did you first were you always like in kind of like a bookish household? You were familiar with Donne and
oh
Milton
God. You
growing
want
up,
to
or
know
was it
more?
or
Oh
was it
shit.
was or was it I'm
Um,
curious when you first came across them. Yeah.
when I did what?
When you
When
first
I
came across like Donne, Milton, what drew you to poetry?
I did not come across them until I came across Milton my junior year in college. I went to
Mm.
Indiana University. I didn't come across Donne until my first year in graduate school.
Mm.
Never heard of him. Never read any of this stuff. Totally fell in love with Donne. I thought Milton was fascinating. Was I in love with Milton? No, but I was fascinated by him. But Donne was just the most wonderful thing I'd ever read. And it was old. I mean, I couldn't believe it. But you asked me, where do I come from? Oh my God, do you really want to know that?
I was did I meant like where did you come to the books? But
Yes, right.
you could say where you're from. I don't know. Now I'm compelled by the answer. From the
I came from
bowels
a
of this.
very unusual scandalous or unorthodox Jewish family, sort
Mm.
of. Yeah.
Mm. Were they like
And
Frankists or
I wrote
something?
a memoir about it that has not been published. My agent, whatever,
Mm.
that got all screwed up. She got dementia, blah, blah, blah. I revised it so many times. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's called, no, I won't even see what it's called. But Um, but yeah, you can promo me on this, okay? Not
Yeah.
really, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I know it's a great book, and I've been told that by so many people, including very close friends of mine who are, major authors, but very hard to publish something like that. Anyhow, um,
Yeah.
my father thought he was the final prophet,
Mm.
the last prophet, and he kept predicting the end of the world.
Mm. How
So it
many
was
how
as if,
many did he get in? How many predictions?
oh, every day, basically. I grew up in a very apocalyptically oriented um, home where I mean, where he thought he was maybe even the Redeemer.
Yeah, the Messiah. Yeah.
He is sort of, yeah. So
Mm.
the
And
name of
was
it
he?
is The Messiah's Daughter. Okay. God, it is really, really true.
Mm.
Self-educated, you know, homeless from the time he was 10,
Mm.
a lot of trauma in
Gosh.
his life. Ended up living in a cave in Israel for a year where he had visions and was reading the Bible and things like this. I mean, whatever. So he comes over to America many, 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 many years later after having a family there, and I'm born, and it's a very unusual household. Is all I can say.
Wow. Yeah.
It, and so, I mean, that's why it's kind of funny that, I mean, okay, he was like his work, his views were condemned by basically Christian Protestants, Catholics, and Jews. So I grew up truly unorthodox. If you want to read it, there's an essay I published in Milton Studies at the end of a volume that was on Milton Studies, volume 66 2 or something like that, on is Milton good for the Jews? And so the very final one is my essay called From Moses to Milton, which is sort of the story. It is the story of how I
Mm.
got from there to here
Mm.
and became an honored Milton scholar, listed along with Northrop Frye and C.S. Lewis, who would be
Yes.
rolling over in their graves if they knew. But I mean, so my trajectory is totally bizarre.
Mm.
Um, but it
Yeah,
means that,
interesting. Yeah.
but
I
I
suppose
mean,
that the heterodox religious views.
heterodox. And the thing is, both Donne and Milton are heterodox in their own
Exactly. Yeah,
ways.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Milton gets
thought I was
called.
getting away from everything, but it turns out that everything I somehow, and I'm constantly dealing with the Bible, just like he was. I thought I was getting away from everything, but apparently everything ended up becoming things that I ended up using in totally different ways. I wouldn't have done anything that I have done, probably, without having had a background that I tried to escape and flee from.
Mm.
So that is the irony of this. Um, what I thought was a curse really has become a gift, you
Mm.
know? And so now what am I going to write on Paradise Brigade about the sun? I didn't
Yeah,
ask to. I was asked to.
yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting. And I think the people who asked me knew about something about my background. I thought, well,
Mm.
that might be really interesting. Commercial presses now, they want the quick, fast read, something, very short. People have lost their attention span. They don't want
Mm.
anything people have to think hard about. You know,
Mm.
it's too, doesn't fit an academic thing exactly. It fits nothing, just like me.
Sure,
But
yeah.
maybe sometime it's going to find the right place. And if not, I have to focus on me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, is it like a big you've been working on it for decades kind of
oh
thing?
God,
Yeah.
yes. Because it started with me not intending to write about my story at all. I wanted to recover a family history that's totally lost and unusual and bizarre because it also involves a lot about America. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
it's because my father wouldn't have come over here if he hadn't had support from a powerful person here. So I'll just leave that as a mystery because it was in the middle of the war.
Okay, goodness me.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, there's just really, it's a very complicated story. He, um, and it very much touches on our own times. Like, is there really a chosen people, a chosen land? What does that mean? Oops, a bug is in here. I killed it. Talk about Kafka, the metamorphosis. No, I mean, it is.
You're doing a good job of making it maximally compelling.
Well, it is maximally compelling. And the thing is, then they kept saying, then readers would say, oh, it needs more of your story. We want more memoir. So I had to pare down history and biographies and everything, much of which I put back. But so it's a combination of both. It's like, I don't know. But it's not like girl makes good kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Girl is crazy.
Yeah,
but in a good way. But that's why my students love me. I mean, you know, it's crazy. I mean, it is. It's weird. The more unfiltered I am, the better it is. You know.
Yeah, I think especially
really
at that age, it's good to meet really unfiltered adults when you're like 18 to 21.
Oh, I love them. It's my favorite age. Oh my God, I love it. I've been teaching for a long, long time, and I taught graduate students and did dissertations for a long time as well. But I really, my preference is really for, you know, undergraduates. It's like the right age, especially now when the world sucks, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose people like you know, they're really ready to change in a
Or they're
thorough way.
questioning. Right.
Yeah.
I've had weird things of people saying, well, you also taught us life lessons called survival. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I
But
mean,
which
like,
one of you is friends with Ivan?
I know Ivan from the
That's
olden
what
days.
it says, Milo, right?
Yeah, yeah. What
Right.
a hell of a guy. Our friend
He's
Ivan.
wonderful. Oh my God, he's just a wonderful person. Wonderful person, but he was the only guy in my class this time. Normally I have a number of them, but for some reason, all the guys disappeared this year.
male readership's completely dropping off. Especially in fiction, you know, like,
Really?
yeah. I mean, in the UK, I think we make up about 18% of the fiction market.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I think I think it's probably kind of similar in the States as well. And if you take out like the nerd core, if you take out Dune and Lord of the Rings, that number's probably quite a bit lower.
That's so sad. But also just even with women or whatever, um, attention spans are gone. Everybody wants short clips, something, and short fixes, quick fixes. And I don't know. I don't know. And so my teaching has also changed, I suppose, a bit, though it's always been that for a long time, because sometimes I think if you give somebody this huge thing and they have to read it in one day, how much attention are they going to pay to it?
Yeah, yeah.
They're going to skim it, and skimming isn't reading. So, like, I sort of give bits and pieces to really focus on. But this is very sad, though, about reading.
This is why we publish these feature-length interviews to throw down the gauntlet to the attention-deprived youth.
I love
Try
it.
get through
I
this.
love it. I've looked at yours. And they're wonderful. And so, yes, I will definitely tell my students. Did you want to know anything about the divorce? No. We're out of
Yeah,
time.
that's the divorce tracts. Yeah, I'd hear
No,
a
no,
divorce
I just
tract.
picked a couple of, I just wanted to just say two or three things. That's all.
Sure, yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
I mean, because I think you'll find it really interesting. And this is why I'm laughing about Milton's Elegy 7. Okay. One of the things is, and I'm writing about this, I think, in my Paradise Regained thing too. Milton doesn't use the word charity or even the concept of it anywhere, pretty much, other than the divorce tracts, in which case he argues that allowing divorce is charity. How do you like that? because his wife had left him. After a couple months of marriage, she leaves him for 3 years. And that is when he writes 4 tracts, polemical tracts, publishes them, asking them to allow marriage. I mean, no,
The other
not
one.
to allow marriage.
The opposite.
Marriage is so holy and wonderful. And because most marriages are not like that, we should be allowed to divorce an unfit partner.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason that they're just 2 sentences I wanted to read you. I mean, I'm sorry, this is just so good. He says that marriage is supposed to be a solace, but he can be what he calls a household captivity. How do you like that? Are either of you married?
Yeah.
Recently, he just got into it.
My husband died. No, that's okay. He lived a long time. We were married a long time. Okay, household captivity. And then, oh my God, there are 2 places where it describes sex. Compare this or contrast this. It's an essay question. Compare or contrast with Paradise Lost. Okay, 706. Okay, this is just, I mean, I love this. It's so horrible. I make my students read it. And not to kind of discourage them, but okay. I also have a kid, it's like a grandchildren. I totally do believe in it when it works. Okay. Okay. 703. Okay, this is just wonderful. I won't keep you much longer than this. What thing more instituted to the solace and delight of man than marriage? And yet, the misinterpreting against the abusers of law for divorce given by Moses, he's saying Moses allows divorce and Jesus says not. And he said, no, Jesus really didn't mean it. Okay. He says, has changed the blessing of matrimony not seldom into a familiar and cohabiting mischief, at least into a drooping and disconsolate household captivity without refuge or redemption. So ungoverned and so wild a race does superstition run us from one extreme of abused liberty into the other of unmerciful restraint. And he says the end or the goal of marriage was the apt and cheerful conversation of man with woman to comfort and refresh him against the evil of solitary life, not mentioning the purpose of generation till afterwards. So that's reproduction is not the main purpose, as being a secondary end in dignity. Yet now, if any 2 be but once handed married in the church and have tasted any sort the nuptial bed, if they've had sex, let them find themselves never so mistaken in their dispositions through any error, concealment, or misadventure, that through their different tempers, thoughts, constitutions, they can neither be one to another a remedy against loneliness, nor live in any union or contentment all their days, yet they shall, so they be but found suitably weaponed. In other words, they both have the equipment to the least possibility of sensual enjoyment, if they be made spite of antipathy to fadge together and combine as they may to their unspeakable weariness and despair of all social delight. Listen to that. Is that horrible? There's one other place that just, okay. What's interesting is when he talks then, he goes on to talk about what is the ideal of marriage. He says it's the marriage of Eros and Anteros, 2 twin brothers. That is how he describes the ideal of marriage. That's what it should be. Yeah. That kind of sameness.
Eros like and Anteros. Like even her reflection, right. Yeah.
You see? You see? Oh my God, I hadn't thought about that. But it is like, you see, and it's like, it's not hetero.
Heterosexuality is doomed. That's the bodies, they're different.
Isn't that the saddest thing? It's terrible. So that's why I go back to Donne. But I just wanted to tell you that because charity lies in divorce and finding your perfect partner is the one who mirrors you. Same sex.
No, it's been an absolute delight, Achsah. Thank you so much for making the time.
This was great. Okay, this was wonderful. You guys have a great day, and I love talking with you. Okay, show me what you edit. Okay, bye. Will do.